Like for me, sometimes I have a really good idea and it'll take me like 2 weeks before I can even consider filming it. It's just like the idea could be well gone and dead because of whatever topical time that it was really useful for is now gone. You're just like, well, I never got time to do this. It's just a shame. No one will ever know. So I don't know how the creation process works for you. I know that you have more groups and employees that you work for that. How does your process works? It's like, and I know that it goes through you at the end, but I don't know how much of that is driven by other folks.
Yeah, we have a social media manager, and she does a really good job. I think she's been with us for a little while now, and I think at first it's hard because it's trying to like navigate and figure out, okay, what content is going to work well with Dr. Chitty, or what content's going to work with this provider or with this esthetician, because she kind of does it for the spa and the clinic. Mm-hmm. But over time, yeah, it's been great. I mean, she kind of sees like, okay, I think this content here, even though it might be a totally different niche or realm, she's able to be like, send it over to me and say, hey, this is my idea. And then I kind of think, oh, yeah, I can apply that, and come up with like a phrase or something that's related to plastic surgery. And so I think it works pretty well together. Now I think when you're trying to just come up with like de novo, like brand new content, that's even a lot more effort, right? Because there's always trends and things, but there are ways to take current things and then, fit it to plastics. But then it's a whole realm of like, okay, let's just make our own content from scratch. And then what are you going to make that's like so appealing to people, And I think there are a lot of plastic surgeons out there who have done that very well. Dr. Miami's like one of them. Dr. Tony Yoon, Richard Brown, these guys have really done a phenomenal job on specifically TikTok, just blowing that up, And some of that came from like they were on YouTube, like you mentioned earlier, or like Snapchat, and that your following kind of ports over from those apps. You just don't see that same crossover from TikTok to Instagram as much, I think. Again,
and also their experience too, right? It's like if you were in YouTube, if you're in Snapchat, you already understand how the process works. You just need to figure out how to work your process into the current algorithm in that specific app. But you learn so much each time you try to do something. You're like, this is the thing that's really going to work. And then it flops. And then when you look at it, you're like, okay, now I know exactly why this flopped. Now I just need to not do that again in the future. But it's a learning process without having somebody professionally doing it for you. But it's so tough to feel like you're going to spend thousands of dollars like out of the gate on someone who's going to do that full time for you. So it really falls to you to start. And then once it becomes such a big undertaking, you're moving so much volume, you're like, okay, I need another human to do this for me because I just don't have the ability, the bandwidth to deal with that. But for me, it's, I have a Google Keep with my MAs that if they have an idea for something that they've seen, they can just drop it on the Google Keep so we can all just like see it. And we just let these ideas mature. And sometimes I'll have something, I'm doom scrolling, I see an audio and I'm like, this would be fun to do in an operating room. But then I have to wait. I'm in an operating room. I have to be in a case where somebody's signed off that it would be okay for me to like film a portion during their case for social media. So that's important. I got to make sure that it's not a case that I'm like needs all of my complete and total focus for every minute to make sure it goes smoothly, or I'm worried about how long it's going to take. And then in those cases where I'm like, okay, this is a case that this is going to like work for. And then I'll have a nurse who's the only person who's not sterile film it, and they didn't go to films, they didn't go to film school, so whether the shot's good or not, who knows? I'm gonna have to get it in post because I'm only gonna shoot it once because we just need to get back to work. But you have these ideas that are in the back of your mind, and then it just takes so much time to get it to fruition. They're just kind of sitting back there because it's all secondary, right? We're surgeons first, content creators and people on social media second, and it's just tough to keep up with people that are just 24/7. This is what they do for a living. They're on top of everything. Anything that comes out, they can be on it immediately. Like for me, sometimes I have a really good idea and it'll take me like 2 weeks before I can even consider filming it. It's just like the idea could be well gone and dead because of whatever topical time that it was really useful for is now gone. You're just like, well, I never got time to do this. It's just a shame. No one will ever know.
Well, especially if it's like a trend, or if it's like some audio you found and it's 2 weeks later, it's gone. Maybe on Instagram it's there because at TikTok it was 2 weeks ago, but
you got to see it in TikTok and then you got to catch it on Instagram. That's the time frame I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, maybe by the time you get ready to do it, just put it on Instagram. Don't even put it on TikTok, but put it on Instagram.
Don't go back. You can't go backwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it could be like, so far really? Behind. It's like a throwback for them.
Yes.
You're like, remember when this was big a month ago?
Yeah. It's so weird. TikTok, the day that it was about to get shut down, or maybe 2 days before even, all of a sudden the algorithm became all the original 2020 TikTok trends. Everybody was redoing them, right? And that's all I saw. And it became very nostalgic for me because I started, using TikTok in 2019, like pretty early on. And I was doing the dances. And so I went back in my own feed to the very beginning and looked at my first TikToks back in like August of 2019. And it is so like nostalgic for me because like you think of all the emotion that built up through COVID and the pandemic and everything shut down. And I mean, we were like, everyone was like living off of that TikTok, and that's just when it just took off. And so seeing that almost come full circle, it's like, well, okay, we're getting shut down and, this is what it did for us. And it was cool, but it also was like emotional for me, like I was very, very invested in the beginning.
I like see you on the couch with like throw pillows behind you and a blanket with a fire, just like single tear coming down as you're scrolling back through your TikTok. It's like, it was a wonderful time that we all shared.
Seriously. And then like coming back was like just amazing, at the
and
same
we're back.
Time.
It was a tough 12 hours.
Yes. Love it.